today's show and tell, we're going to be looking at the Casio ProCheck PRT-40. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Actually, before we get into it, just wanted to thank all of you. The channel has hit 1,500 subscribers, and if you know the channel, you know that when I first started, I was just looking to get 50 subscribers, but the fact that we're at 1,500 means that the sky's the limit. So who knows, maybe a couple years from now, we'll get to 10,000 and so on and so on. So again, just want to thank you guys. A quick little history lesson. So ProTrek was started in 1994, and I'm not sure if Casio was the first company to come out with the triple sensor watch, meaning altimeter, barometer, and compass, but I do know that they were one of the first companies to come out with the ABC watch, and the ProTrek line of watches was definitely on the forefront of that standard that we are so comfortable and familiar with today. So in front of you, I've got the PRT-40, which is actually one of the first ProTreks ever made. So in '94, they had the first ProTrek, and this one came out in 1996. And what made it different was that it was introduced with the auto backlight feature. So basically, you tilt your wrist and the backlight turns on. Very common function today, but back then, that was actually something very cool. Let's go ahead and do a quick 360, and you can clearly tell that mine is all beat to hell. And that is because I have probably owned this watch since around 1996 or maybe 97. It was actually originally my father's watch, and he passed it down to me under the condition that I beat him in an arm wrestling match. So I basically trained and trained and trained because I really thought that this was the coolest watch ever. So I needed to make sure that I could beat him in an arm wrestling match. I remember going to the store with my father and looking at this watch thinking that it was just the coolest thing ever. I had never seen a watch like this before. And while a lot of us take watches like this for granted today with the functions and feature set that it has, at the time, this was pretty much the closest thing to a smartwatch that, that compares to what we have today. And just for a point of reference, the PRT-40 at the time, I think my dad spent $400, around that price range, and if you count for inflation, that is around $660 today. So definitely not a cheap watch, and considering that this was pretty much a smartwatch, it was quite expensive at the time. And honestly, I think that the PRT-40 still looks super cool even by today's standards. And that could very well be because I'm a child of the 90s, and maybe kids born in the 21st century don't think that this is very cool. But from the multicolored display, you've got like this orange color on the top half, your standard display on the bottom, and then the chapter ring is where the second hand ticks along. Just gives it a very cool large face display that reminds me of sci-fi movies, maybe like Akira, or I don't know, it's just some kind of futuristic manga or anime, and that really appeals to me. And even from a practical standpoint, the PRT-40 has all the features and functions that still make it very practical by today's standards as well. So like I said before, it's an ABC watch. So starting off with the compass, if you hit this button right here where it says bearing, you got your compass, and then now right here you've got your temperature, your barometer as indicated by this graph right up here, and then underneath that you've got your altimeter, and then for your next mode you've got a recall screen so you can save any data that you want, and then alarm, stopwatch, and back to your main time. So it's an old watch, but it's still competent by today's standards. Even the backlight is still very practical. You can't see it here, but you can see on the screen the backlight, very pleasing to the eye, and no complaints there. I can only imagine just how phenomenal this watch must have been 20 years ago. And there it is on the wrist. And that band is the original band that it came with. And that's just a testament to the quality of Casio's bands. And I did not take, good care of this watch at all by any means. I mean, I didn't treat it like crap, but I didn't take care of it. I didn't really specifically try to prolong the lifespan of this band. But man, it just looks so cool. What I really like about it is that it doesn't look like a toy. It definitely looks like a tool, like a futuristic computer on the wrist, and it's just really pleasing to me. And I just wish that they still made watches that look like this today. And that concludes the show and tell episode for today. I just wanted to share with you a watch that I've had in my collection for many, many years, and one that I have been extremely fond of and have had many fun memories with. My recommendation is that if you ever come across an older Protrek from the 90s in a decent condition and a decent price, I highly recommend that you go ahead and grab one, because they're not making them anymore, and they're definitely part of digital watch history. As far as being the pioneers in triple sensor technology and just being plain old fun and cool. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and make sure to tune in for my next one. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.